when it comes to going somewhere, sometimes people are like, "Oh, this is the one place I want to travel to." For me in Australia, it was kind of different. I think someone asked me like, "Hey, are you thinking of traveling somewhere?" And I'm like, "You know what? I think want to go to Australia. I mean, it just seems like a different place, and it just seems really interesting, kind of different from Canada or the U.S." And so I remember just talking about it, and then after I said that, I remember like Australia just kept coming up like randomly in conversations, and it'd be just like the weirdest thing ever, like to me, because it wasn't like I was consistently thinking about it or like asking God, like, "Hey, I want to go to Australia." It was just like Australia, Australia, Australia. And so I remember one time when I was in the U.S., I went with some friends to a concert, and while we were there in the parking lot, remember we parked, and I got out of the car, and I looked down. There was like this bottle, and it was like this brand name from Australia, and I was like, that is really random that this bottle from Australia is sitting here in the parking lot. And I was like, that's a little weird. And I remember another situation was when I first came back from the U.S., I went to a skate park, and I met this guy who I haven't seen in a while. And basically, he's like, "Hey, how you been? Didn't you go to like Australia or something like that?" I'm like, "No, I went to Texas." He was like, "Oh, okay." And we had the rest of the conversation. I was like, "That is super weird that he would mention Australia of all places." And I was like, "That's just weird." And so, preparing for this trip, I was telling my parents about it, and so they were definitely supportive. And we were just sending out letters to different people, like family, friends, people at church, to just donate money. And I remember, like literally, probably like a week before the trip, I had to go to work because basically we had to do a demo because I teach kids how to skate, and so we did a demo at this church. And basically, I was doing this like 360 air trick off a ramp, and when I landed, I sprained my ankle. And this was like a week before the trip started. And I was like, no, this is not, it's not happening. And so I remember coming home, and it was just like, what am I gonna do? And so basically, I just iced my ankle as much as I can. I elevated it. I just sat there and just chilled out. And basically, like the day of my flight, like I was still like limping to go to the plane, and I was like, God, you've got to heal my ankle. And so I actually went to a friend's house before I actually went to the campus in Texas. And so basically, I was just chilling at his house. He was just hanging out. He was just a really good roommate of mine. And so basically, my ankle was healing on this trip. Like I was walking around, but I could still feel pain. But on this trip, like God like really healed my ankle, and it wasn't like instantaneous, but it was like a slow process of the muscles working again. And so that was something that I thought would hinder my trip, but it definitely motivated me to like definitely go and just like talk to people. So that was really interesting. And then coming back, it was like I wasn't sure if I was gonna have some time to recuperate, but once the trip was over, like my ankle was good to go. So that was really interesting. And then even like all the money I had to raise, it was like $3,400, maybe roughly about there. And there's also my plane ticket and me coming back, and so really just God provided for everything for that. And all the money came in. Like it was really slow at first. It was like, people please donate, and then like the last like couple like 2 days before the trip started, when I was on campus, like I still needed like $700 or something like that to even go. And it was like, oh man, I'm like scrambling because they have a policy where it's like you don't have all the money. It's like you can't really go, but you can. It was really weird. And so basically, I was just like calling. I was just sending Facebook messages and calling people, trying to call people. And I was like, dang, this really sucks. And apparently, on the Canadian side of donating to this American organization, like the manager was out, and so it wasn't like I could get a lot of Canadian funds coming in. And so I was basically just sending emails back and forth to my mom, and then she's like, "Oh, we got the rest of the money. Like your grandfather donated and your aunt donated." And then it was like, "All right, I'm good. I'm going on this trip." Like all the money came in, my ankle was good to go, like everything was set for this trip. And so when I went, it was like, all right, I am supposed to be here. And just being on the team with other young guys and girls, it was awesome because it wasn't like we had a lot of quarrels between each other. And so it really flowed out in terms of how we got to talk to people and just interacting. And it was just a really good trip. I'm glad I went. Um, the city of Brisbane is definitely really beautiful. I mean, there's a lot of good architecture, a lot of great buildings. We actually got to go kayaking on the river. We got to go to a koala sanctuary because koalas are like endangered. We got to feed kangaroos. The funny thing is that the day before we got to see the kangaroos, We had a barbecue, and our Australian contacts, they were like, hey, do you guys want to try kangaroo meat? And we were like, I don't know about that. And so I think it was like me and like maybe 3 or 5 other people. We had some, and like it didn't taste that great, but I don't know. And then one of our other guys, he bought like kangaroo jerky, and I found that the jerky actually tasted better than the meat. And then when we went to go pet the actual kangaroos, it was like we ate those things. Oh, we were so horrible. And so we fed them and petted them, and I don't know. I didn't feel that much guilt, but I think some other of my teammates did. So that was and then yeah, I mean that was really cool, just seeing those different animals. And that was very, very interesting. Yeah, we did a lot of walking though through that city. It's very definitely a lot of walking. Like the mall is huge. Like literally, it's a giant like kind of like X. And so you got malls here and you got malls over there. And so we were just walking around talking to people. Yeah, I mean, I took a couple photos. I wasn't able to just because of how the schedule worked. But one of the last days, we actually got to see like the whole city like line up, kind of like the coastline. And we just went to like this big hill that was out from the city, and basically we could see from like the edge of where like the coastline was, like the sea, to like the other edge where you can see like the mountains. It was just really beautiful. I wasn't able to get a shot of that, but some of my friends did, so I might tag them on Facebook and put them on the website just because I can, but I have to ask for permission. But yeah, so that was really cool. Yeah, it was a really good trip. I'm glad I went. I'm back home right now. There'll be more videos on the website, rather on my YouTube page, and so there'll just be videos about life and how the business is going. So hope you're enjoying everything that's coming out. Keep in tune because there's more to come. Bye.